leaders and faculty advisors. So that's the only purpose that we're recording the webinar. But thank you all so much for joining us today. We're so pleased to have you tune in. This is obviously our first kickoff call with FRN students and with faculty and staff advisors for the year. And we're just so excited to start a new year of programming with you all. So in case you all don't know me, I'm Erin Price. I'm the program manager at Food Recovery Network, and I'm joined by my colleague Julia today. So we're going to tag team this presentation style conversation. And I just want to highlight that Julia was once a chapter leader herself. And we recently had the opportunity to hire her full-time as an FRN staff member. So you'll be hearing and seeing a lot more of Julia this year. We're delighted to have her on the team. Julia, do you care to say a few words?
Yes, I'm super excited. I've been in all of your shoes, recovering, kind of doing all of this stuff with the chapters. So I definitely feel for you guys, it's a lot to do, but we're definitely here to help you out. So feel free to shoot us up with an email or anything, and we can definitely help you out. So we've been there and we're here to help. So yeah.
Thanks so much. So for today's call, whether you've been a member of your chapter for a few years or you've recently stepped into a volunteer role at FRN, we really just want to make sure that all of the students in our network have the support and the resources that they need to fight hunger and climate change, whether that's on your campus or in the surrounding community. So today, we're just going to kind of walk through some of the resources that we have available to help you all achieve your goals, and to explain our general schedule of communications throughout the year to help you all stay on track, and making sure that you're able to achieve the goals that you have for your chapter. And of course, during this conversation, if you have any specific questions that we're not touching on or that you'd like for us to answer, please add them in the chat. And then if we don't have time to get to them today, we'll be sure to follow up with you via email. So I'm really excited to kick off the presentation by talking about a new resource that we have available to all of our chapters. This is the chapter life cycle document, and I'll be sure to share these resources in the chat as we go, and we'll be sure to send a follow-up email out with all of these resources that we're talking about linked for you. So don't worry, you will have access to this very soon. But we created this resource to just show the many ways that FRN can be a support to your chapter at any stage of your operation. So that starts with, you've initiated a chapter for the first time and you're just getting things up and running on your campus. There are some key resources that we always want to share, whether you're doing, food recovery or advocacy or other types of community work. And so that's one section in this document. If your chapter has been around for a year or two, there's some level of resource that we have available to help you activate in new ways or to maintain your current operations. And so we want to make sure that during that time, how FRN National can help you, guide you if you run into any challenges along the way. And then, of course, we know that eventually our student leaders will graduate. So preserving the chapter legacy is super important. We want to make sure that this program can stay on your campus for all time. As long as there's food being produced, we want to make sure that somebody's there to pick up the torch. So we do have plenty of resources to help you all kind of navigate through those changes in leadership transition, as student leaders come on and off the team, or as student leaders might be graduating at different points throughout the year. And then, of course, once new leaders join the chapter and take over, you're not a new chapter, but you're new to that role. And so we want to make sure that you feel comfortable and prepared to take on all the responsibilities that come with being a chapter leader. And so this guide that we'll share with you all just has a full rundown of, what you can expect from FRN National and, what resources we have to support you if you're not needing that one-to-one support. And with that, I'll transfer over to Julia to talk about our student resources page.
All right, so where can you find all the resources we're going to talk about today? So we're going to send out a big email with all of them, so don't worry. But if you're ever just, in a few months can't find that email and you want to find those resources again, definitely just check out our website. go on to foodrecoverynetwork.org and look for our student resources page. There are so many resources, guides. That one that Erin just went over is on there. All of the forms that we're going to ask you to fill out will also be on there. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for anything that you need. And if you're thinking like of any resources that you might wonder if we have, definitely check out this page or shoot us an email. We probably have something kind of already in there. And if you check out the chat, Erin is also putting in those as well. But that's kind of our student resources page. And we'll go over a little bit more about what specifically is on there.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. And then on that student resources webpage, we do have specific resources categorized for the different ways that chapters can activate. And I just want to remind everyone here that your chapter can fight food waste and hunger and climate change in a variety of ways. That could be recovering food, whether that's on or off campus. It can be through advocacy work. If you're just promoting a more sustainable policy on your own campus, or if you're engaged in a local food policy council, or there's other kinds of policies that you can help push forward at the state or the national level. We want to support you all in doing that kind of work. And then, of course, if you're more engaged with something at the community level, perhaps there's not an opportunity for your chapter to recover food on your campus, you can always go out and find, a local food bank or a food pantry to volunteer with, or maybe there's a community garden or even a community fridge program that you can get involved with. So that's more of the community engagement track that we have available. But we're constantly producing, more and more resources to support you in all of these different tracks, no matter, what your chapter's goals might be. So definitely check out our website for the student resources page and look underneath, those little buckets of activities to see what kinds of guides and templates and tools we might have to help you plan something new for this semester. And then we also have, another document. If you're a little time crunched, maybe you don't have the same volunteer capacity that you once had, we have a whole list of activities that can be completed in under an hour. So plenty of opportunity to do something together this year. And now Julia's going to chat a little bit about food tracking forms.
Yes, and one more thing with those little quick, like 1 to 3 hour activities, if you're having like a general body meeting or something like that, just trying to get volunteers, definitely look through those because those are some good ideas as well if you're having like a large volunteer group as well. But food tracking forms, so at Food Recovery Network, we would love to know if you've taken that food recovery track, how much food are you recovering, right? So we have lots of chapters and we love to see all of the food and kind of total it up at the end as well. So on our website, just keep going to that student resources page. It's kind of the hub, but we have this food tracking form, and essentially it's just a little form. You put in your name, amount of volunteers, different things like that, and the food that you've recovered. And then it's pretty cool. It auto-populates into this kind of Google spreadsheet. And every single chapter, if you're a new chapter, we are making you one, but every chapter has their own food tracking form that is this Google sheet, and you can actually see the amount that you have recovered since the beginning of you being an official chapter. So it's pretty cool to even check back later on, but you can find this food tracking form, this Google sheet on the right, if you look at your chapter on the website under our chapter. So food tracking forms, you could do this once a week. You could do this after every recovery. If it's easier, you could do it every month or even just at the end of the semester, kind of whatever works for you guys. But definitely just at the end of the semester, it's super helpful for us to see how much food you have recovered.
Awesome. And I'm super jazzed to talk about this next topic, which is funding. So I just sent that link in the chat. But FRN provides chapter funding every semester. You can earn up to $150 for your chapter. We have an application that you can use to access these funds. And this kind of funding can be applied to purchasing food recovery supplies that you might need. Maybe it's trays, maybe it's gloves, hats, what have you. It can also go towards covering the cost of transportation. You know, if your chapter has to drive a significant amount in order to donate food to your partner agency, we can reimburse, you know, up to $100, or depending on the state that you're in, $150 per semester to cover those costs. It could also be used, you know, if you're a chapter that's more activating in advocacy work or with community engagement. Maybe you don't have a need to purchase food recovery supplies, but we want to make sure that you're still celebrating your volunteers. So you could, you know, use that money to purchase supplies for tabling at an on-campus event to recruit new volunteers, or maybe you want to purchase some FRN swag so that all of your volunteers can represent your chapter on campus. Or at the end of the semester or the end of the year, host a little pizza party or some kind of, you know, just a nice gathering where you can provide snacks and drinks and, you know, or a small gift, a token of appreciation to let your volunteers know how much their time meant to you, and that you really value them as being a part of your community. So the link to that funding application is in the chat. You can actually utilize this as either a reimbursement request. So if I already purchased, you know, 10 aluminum trays for food recoveries this month for my chapter, as long as you have the receipt, you can upload that receipt and FRN National can refund you for it. Or you can use it as a supply request form. So maybe you didn't have those 10 trays, you can go ahead and request it through that application link that we shared in the chat. And again, we'll include the link to this funding form in our follow-up email to you all. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, wow, I really think we could have accomplished a lot more if we had X more dollars this semester, shoot us an email to let me know. I want to gather that information so that we understand the needs of our chapters. We know that some schools are really large, some are smaller, and so your chapters might have different needs financially. So just keep us posted and updated on how this funding is working out for your school, and that way we can kind of reevaluate what funding needs you might have and how we could potentially accommodate that. But at any rate, you can definitely access that funding throughout the semester. And then I also want to touch on something else. You know, historically, FRN National, we receive donations from a variety of people, and they are oftentimes just going straight to support FRN National, which then, of course, that funding is, you know, supporting our staff to be able to provide these programs for you, and the cost of other programs we're running, the creation of all of these resources that we have for students. But from time to time, we do get donations that are earmarked for specific chapters. And so in the last year, we really wanted to make sure that our chapters had a way to check to see if they had donated funds available. So beyond the funding that FRN National can provide to you per semester, it's possible that your school has access to additional funds. The way that you can check this, every single chapter will have their own unique URL on our website. And if you have trouble accessing your own, shoot me an email to let us know. You can just email us at programs@foodrecoverynetwork.org to ask about your chapter's URL. But to give an example of how this works, let's say that I'm, you know, a student at the University of Maryland, College Park. The URL for my specific chapter to see if I have donated funds available is just going to be FRN's main website, www.foodrecoverynetwork.org, and then it'll be /University of Maryland, College Park, but each word will have to be separated out by a hyphen. Oh, thank you, Julia, for adding that in. I also added it in the chat. So again, www.foodrecoverynetwork.org / every word in the name of your school. So for example, with University of Maryland College Park, it's going to be University of Maryland College Park, a mouthful. But that's the URL, and that's how it will work for all of the chapters in our network. So if you're curious to know if you have extra donated funds to access, that's how you would check it. And of course, again, if you have any issues finding that link for your chapter's webpage, just email us at programs@foodrecoverynetwork.org. All right, so diving into some communications. I just want to make sure that everyone knows how FRN National will be communicating information, updates, opportunities with all of our chapters throughout the year. So we do send out a monthly e-newsletter. So this will come in as an email to your inbox, but it's a quick highlight of all the major updates or opportunities or new resources that we have available for the network. And so it's just a great snapshot to see what we have going on and how we can support you. If you're not receiving that e-newsletter, maybe check your spam folder, maybe check your junk email. I've heard that it's helpful if you add our email address, programs@foodrecoverynetwork.org, as a saved contact in your email. So if you haven't heard anything from us, it might be an issue with our emails not getting through to you. So definitely keep us posted if for some reason you haven't received any kind of communication from us, because we've certainly been sending out the newsletter and a few emails already this semester. Which brings me to email. We also send out direct emails from time to time. I know that recently we've connected with our entire network of student leaders and faculty to share some updates about what's coming up for this month and for the rest of the year. Obviously, we promoted this call, so thank you all for registering and joining us. But we have a lot of other conversations coming up, including a student town hall meeting next week. So all that information should be coming to you via email. Again, if you're not getting those communications, add our email address as a contact in your Gmail account. But we also do post a lot on social media. That's something that we're really excited to continue to communicate with more chapters. I would say that most of our chapters have a presence on Instagram. And so that's primarily where we send out information about what we're up to, for this month. For example, we've been posting some information about this call, about, your official chapter agreements, which we hope that you'll sign by September 30th. So definitely check in with us, whether it's replying to an email that we send out or submitting that official chapter agreement. By joining this call today, you're showing us that you're engaged and ready to activate this year. And DM us on social media or tag us in your photos. We're so excited to see what all of our chapters are up to, and we know you're super busy. So if social media is where you're posting content and you want to send us a little update, just tag us and we'll definitely, if we can, we'll highlight you on our stories or in other kinds of posts that we put out throughout the year. And of course, if we don't hear or see anything from your chapter by October 30th, we'll give you a call to check in. We'll be worried at that point. So just know that you'll hear from us in a variety of ways this year, but we're so excited to chat with you all and to support you.
Quick things. Thank you for those who are telling us that the chat was not working. I fixed it. Thank you very much. And number two, we had one question about how do we change the contact information for a chapter. Just send us an email in terms of what you want changed, and we'll change it on our end. And then in terms of website updates, we do those kind of on a quarterly basis. So any website updates that you have, for your chapter specifically, just send us an email and we will get to those as soon as possible as well. But really good questions, my friends. Thank you. So our fall 2022 timeline. So essentially, what do you need to know? What do we do now, right? With food recovery, there's so many things to do. It's in particular with your recoveries or with whatever track you do. So in terms of what Food Recovery National needs, just a few things. Again, we've talked about that official chapter agreement due on September 30th. We've sent that out in an email, and I believe it's in our newsletter as well, but you'll have some more communications with that as well to find that link. Throughout September to December, we have these town hall meetings coming up. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just to premise, our first one is coming up soon. And this was a lot of us giving you guys information, but we would love to hear from all of you what your thoughts are in terms of our programming and how we can improve. And so we want to listen to you and alumni and all of your brilliant ideas. So please join us for those. Those are going to be like little town hall meetings that are only going to be about an hour. And then throughout that September through December, right, our town hall meetings, those will maybe be around once a month. And then those food tracking forms. So keeping up with how much food you've donated and sending it our way, and then it'll auto populate in that Google Sheet. But just keep doing everything you're doing during that kind of meat of the semester, right? And then due at the end of the semester will be our end of semester survey. And the specific date is to be determined, but that's kind of like our big survey. And that's how we know what you've been up to for the whole semester. So please fill those out. Those are super helpful. And we love hearing what you guys have been up to and getting little quotes and things like that. So that will be due at the end of the semester, and of course those food totals. So if you haven't been doing food tracking forms all along the semester, that's okay. But if you could send us that big total towards the end, that would be super great. So that's fall of 2022, and then spring.
Yes, I'm happy to take over for spring. So leadership team transitions. This is a huge part of our outreach efforts to chapter leaders throughout, February and March, sometimes into April. We know that a lot of students will graduate every spring. For some of you that might be graduating in December, the resources that we have are still applicable to you. We just won't be as, I guess, aggressive is not really the word that I would use, but as, I don't know, frequent in our communication with you all regarding leadership team transitions in the fall semester, since most students will likely graduate in the spring. But we'll talk a lot about how to guide you through that process of transferring leadership from yourself to a new chapter member, helping to make sure that new leaders are going to be prepared to take over for your chapter responsibilities and that they can keep all of your programs running smoothly for the next academic year. Food tracking forms are always a thing, like Julia just mentioned. Every semester, we want to see any chapters that are recovering surplus food, filling these out. It really helps us to see, not only historically what your chapter has accomplished on your own campus or within your own community, but for the network as a whole. It's amazing to see, how much food collectively all of our chapters are able to recover and donate every year. So it's just such a helpful way to share our impact with, other stakeholders that are really cheering us on in this movement to help fight food waste and hunger and climate change. So please do continue to fill those out throughout the spring. And then you'll start to hear more from us in like March, April about planning end of semester food recoveries. So even if your chapter, has struggled to resume food recoveries in the same capacity because of the pandemic, I know there were a lot of challenges working with, new food service providers. Like staff transitions have been really, really high in the food service industry, and we totally understand that. So even if you weren't able to do regular recoveries, or even if your chapter is somebody that's like, we mostly do advocacy work, but you want to plan one food recovery this semester, the end of the semester is the time to do it. There's such a big opportunity to recover surplus food, non-perishable goods in particular, as students are moving out of their on-campus residence halls and back home for the summer, for example. All of their parents stocked them up well with goods from Costco and, whatever other stores they're purchasing, all the granola bars, the ramen, mac and cheese, all that stuff. So any surplus food remaining in their dorms that has not been, damaged, it's in perfectly good condition, we want to make sure that that food can be donated. So we'll start talking to you all about how you can plan that kind of an end of semester food drive. There's always an opportunity to connect with food service providers and dining to do a refrigerator clean out at the end of the semester. And that can happen in December or in May. And then of course, there's tons of graduation events being held on campus throughout the year, throughout May. And so throughout that month, it would be great to connect with catering in advance to see if they need any kind of support in donating surplus food from different events that they're hosting. And then in May, we'll also send out another end of semester survey just to get a good sense of how the spring semester went for your chapter. Again, this is just such a wonderful way to share information with FRN National about your experience as a chapter leader, or to share more about any challenges or even successes that you've had throughout the year. We love to see highlights of, amazing accomplishments that you all achieved. And a lot of that is conveyed to us through these end of semester surveys. So it's really just a helpful resource for us, allowing our staff to kind of see a collective picture of how things went for our chapters so that we can plan our programming for the next academic year to respond to the needs of our network and our community. We always want to make sure that we're centering student voices in that process. So that's a little bit about the spring.
And then what's happening right now? So our care package, we would love to send you all of your chapters, a little care package. This is the form. This is literally the entire thing. We just need your name, your chapter, and an address. I almost said an email address. We would like that as well, but a physical mailing address. It does not have to be like a campus official location, just somewhere that you can receive that package, but we want to give you some swag, some money to kind of help you out with your recovery. So definitely fill out that form for us. Super easy, super quick. We'll send that in the chat as well, but we would love to send you a little care package as well. So with that, does anyone have any quick questions for us? Oops, sorry, I scrolled. If you have any questions that we haven't answered, please feel free again to shoot us an email or hang out in the chat for a little bit afterwards as well. But just for timing purposes, I'll put up our thank you and our contact info. So thank you all so much for coming. We know how much you work in helping fight hunger and fight food waste in your community, and we don't take that lightly. We are so appreciative of it, and your communities are too. So please feel free to send us an email, follow us at Food Recovery Network, and we'll follow you guys back as well. So check us out on there. Please let us know if you have any questions at all. And last but not least, Erin, do you want to just quickly touch on our town hall?
Yes, so we are hosting our first ever town hall style meeting. It's going to happen next Tuesday, September 20th from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. But this is a call for students and alumni to join FRN National, for an open dialogue. FRN National staff throughout, the year, we're going to be hosting these town hall style meetings because we really, again, want to make sure that your voices are at the center of this movement as we continue to plan out our programming and different strategies to, find new ways to feed people faster across the country. We have very key questions and, some challenges that we would like to bring to you all for your thoughts and ideas. And, to hear more about your experience with certain, aspects of food recovery work or other kinds of engagement in your own community that you've seen be successful in helping to reduce hunger. And so the purpose of these meetings is really to allow students and alumni to more easily connect with FRN staff. So it's just a 1-hour call, and we have a couple of questions prepared that we want to offer to the group that can join in with us, again, for your feedback. So it would be so wonderful to see more students and alumni join that conversation. I'll be there with my colleague Katie A, and we would love to hear from you and receive your thoughts and feedback on some of the ideas and the questions that we have going into this fall.
Beautiful. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. I'll put our contact info back up here. If you have any other questions, please let us know. We appreciate you. We see all the work that you guys are doing. Thank you so much.